The so-called letters of John, even though technically 1st John is not a letter, we will do them in reverse order, starting with 3rd John. 3rd John is a cover letter from the so-called elder, John, to Gaius, a trusted friend. The letter acknowledges the situation that has everyone involved, and then commends Demetrius, the bearer of all 3 documents. Verses 9 to 10 give the occasion for all 3. I've written something to the church, the elder says, but Diotrephes, who likes to put himself first, doesn't acknowledge our authority. So if I come, I'll bring up what he's doing, talking wicked nonsense against us. And not content with that, he refuses to welcome the brothers and sisters, and also stops those who want to welcome them and puts them out of the church. So we seem to have a church authority who's gone rogue and with whom John has tried to correspond. By the way, the church in verse 6 seems to be the elders' church, whereas the church in verses 9 to 10 is caught in a conflict. Verse 11 gives the summary message of all 3 documents. Beloved, and this is singular, beloved one, don't imitate evil, but imitate good. Whoever does good is from God. Whoever does evil hasn't seen God. Good and evil aren't ordinary dictionary terms here. They're packed with the meaning that they carry within these communities. And 1 John will do a lot of that unpacking. Incidentally, in later church usage, the name Diotrephes sometimes personifies bad bishops, bad overseers. And that demonstrates what we already know. This problem is not confined to the Johannine communities concerned in these letters. Bad leaders are a feature of Christianity ever since the beginning. Don't project back from our age of institutionalized division and denominationalism back onto this scenario. Don't think of what's facing these people in terms of denominations where we can come and go freely. Rather, think in terms of an entrenched conflict within an extended family. After all, family imagery is woven throughout these documents. Here, the strategy to manage that conflict is disfellowshipping and distance, and that resembles the ways that extended families manage such conflicts to this very day. 2 John is also a cover letter, but it's for the whole congregation. 2 John 1 reads, from the elder, John, to the elect lady, the chosen Kyria in Greek. Kyria is the feminine form of Kyrios, Lord, and her children. So the church is the lady, or the Kyria, and her children are the congregation. The word Kyria is used in Roman Catholicism for the church leaders, especially the bishops. But here it seems to mean the whole church, and the children are the members of that church. Verse 4 says some of these children are walking in the truth. So some of the children are presumably sinning. They're being deceived by the deceivers. 1 John doesn't divide everyone into 2 groups, in or out. There's a flock that's being deceived by poor shepherds as well as guided by good ones like Gaius. So be careful not to draw too stark a line between insiders and outsiders in these letters. There are people caught in the middle. 2 John is an executive summary of 1 John. It's the TLDR version, and the heart of that is here in verse 5 through 7. I'll start in the middle of 5. I'm writing you the same old new commandment that we got from our Lord. Love one another. And this is love, that we walk according to those commandments. And this is the commandment, just as you've heard from the beginning, so that you should walk in it. In other words, know it and walk it. Verse 7, for many deceivers have gone out into the world, those who don't confess the coming of Jesus Christ in the flesh. And that flags the concern in 1 John about false teachers who teach a false Christ. And this is an interesting line. Such a one is the deceiver and the Antichrist. So there are many such deceivers who won't confess that Jesus is the Messiah who has come in the flesh. And any such deceiver is the deceiver, the darkness. Verse 8. So watch yourselves, so that you may not lose what we have worked for, but may win a full reward. The elder wants his flock to know good teaching from bad, true Christ from false Christs, so that they don't get carried away. This is a classic New Testament theme. And then another TLDR of a major theme in 1 John, the relationship between teaching and knowing God. Verse 9, everyone who goes on ahead and doesn't remain or abide in the teaching of Christ does not have God. Whoever abides in the teaching has both the Father and the Son. Being in genuine fellowship with God doesn't show up visibly. However, it has visible signs, behavioral ones, confessional ones, relational ones. There's a whole constellation of signs or indicators of that invisible fellowship. So 3 John makes a nice introduction to 2 John, which makes a great introduction to 1 John. I recommend you read them in that order. The fact that the cover letters are included in the canon along with 1 John tells you the reverence that the early church had for apostolic correspondence. They valued whatever the apostolic authorities had written, and they held on and passed them on. These letters are also another window, a Johannine window, into the personal networks of Christian fellowship that we see throughout Paul's letters, as well as the book of Acts. Especially what goes unsaid. I love this closing verse. 12. Though I have much to write to you, I'd rather not use paper and ink. Instead, I hope to come to you and talk face to face, so that our joy may be complete. And then greetings from the congregation that won't be able to go along on this trip. 13. The children, the congregation of your elect sister greet you. Christianity is a relational faith. Jesus put his disciples together and said, love one another. And that is what these people are doing. But the strains are showing.